morning, and welcome to Morning Movie News, where it is super cold here in New York City. But I made it to work anyway, wearing my super warm, cozy shell, because we have a lot of great things to discuss today. TV reviews, the top 10 list that you voted for 2015. It's all going up today. But of course, we have to start with Morning Movie News. And we have some really great stories to discuss, particularly two that are going to first scare Batman v Superman fans and then delight them. There's really an intense rivalry already brewing. I would actually go so far as to say it's already begun, forget brewing, between Marvel and DC fans when it comes to 2016 movies. But it'll be settled by the box office. So we will, of course, have a definitive answer by the end of the year. But we're getting a little bit of an idea of the strategy for 2016 and also what the potential box office might be. So what am I talking about? Well, let's start with this first rumor that's going around that Marvel and Netflix are planning to release Daredevil Season 2 the same day as Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice when that hits theaters, which is March 25th. Now, that's absolutely hilarious. And at first you might be like, well, so what? They're not going to be able to hurt Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. But I would like to have you remember back to the debut of Mockingjay Part 2 and how that movie seriously underperformed at the box office. And what else debuted that weekend? Why, it was Jessica Jones. Now, the problem here is that if you just debut like a regular television show the day a movie comes out, it's just an hour. You could even do an hour and a half like the recent Sherlock special. It's not going to stop a movie dead in its tracks. But since Netflix does binge viewing, you're dropping 13 hours of programming on people. And that really takes up an entire weekend, especially if it's good enough that people will watch it twice. So you have a situation. I honestly suspect people will just take a Batman v Superman break if they release it at the same time. But the question is, what will it do to the casual viewer, especially if Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice doesn't have good reviews, doesn't have good word of mouth? Will people be like, well, I hear it isn't that good anyway, I'm just going to stay home and watch Daredevil, which I know is good because we're already on Season 2. Although they've changed a number of key people behind the scenes for Daredevil Season 2, so that's not necessarily guaranteed. But anyway, here might be the big kicker. You have to pay money to go see Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, but most people are already subscribed to Netflix, so for all intents and purposes, it's free. So that could be a big decider as well. But I think at the end of the day, what's really important here, and I do believe that Jessica Jones hurt Mockingjay Part 2's box office. Because, think about it, they were so well matched in terms of the audience. It's not like Marvel is debuting shows that are, counter-programming to the movie that's released. They're going after the exact same audience. Now, I don't know why they're upset with Lionsgate and the Hunger Games franchise, but we know they want to take down DC. They want to remain dominant in the marketplace, and they have enough competition from in-house with Star Wars. They don't need an out-of-house bunch of movies rising to prominence. But basically, it's like Marvel has a Death Star weapon with Netflix because they can just take a movie out, right? They're just like, bam, sorry, see ya. We're so powerful that people will even stay home to watch us rather than go out to see your movie. But I think that if I were DC, I'd be like, damn it, I need my own powerful Death Star. And I think DC, who's had tremendous success on the small screen, before the Netflix situation, they had more success than Marvel. I think they need to look into setting up a binge viewing situation. Now, obviously, they're not going to be able to go with Netflix, because I think Marvel would not have that. I think Marvel would not allow it. We've seen how aggressive DC is with toy companies. They can't be so aggressive with toy companies. Well, actually they are, because they killed the Hasbro DreamWorks deal because they said that'll be considered a conflict of interest, and we're going to pull all our brands from your toy company, and so therefore Hasbro was unwilling to purchase DreamWorks. So that was really bad. So I could see them maybe doing that to Netflix. So, but there are lots of other streaming sites that DC could go to. They could go. Not any is impressive, obviously, but they could go to Amazon. I just joined Amazon Prime to try some shows out. 30 days. I hope I remember to cancel it before my 30 days are up. That doesn't speak so well for Amazon Prime, but it's not as hard as it seems. There seems like you're like, that seems like a lot of work. Do I really want to join another streaming service? It wasn't that bad. So if there was a DC show on there, I think I might be like, okay, sure, I'll do it. But at the same time, I don't think that they have the same. I'm being swallowed alive by my jacket. They don't have the same level of, prestige when it comes to quality like Netflix does. Netflix has amazing brand recognition at this point. But DC, they could even frickin' stream it themselves. I think they just need to get on the binge watching bandwagon and maybe take out some Marvel movies. All right, so that's the first story of the day, and I'm curious, if that were to happen, would you be like, that's fantastic, way to go, Marvel, I love it, I love the competition? Or will you be like, this sickens me, why can't they get along, why do they have to make me choose? And if you are forced to choose, what will you do? I would, well, hopefully, I would be seeing Batman v Superman early, and also, the movies debut Thursday night, so you could go and see Batman v Superman Thursday night, anybody could, and then they drop these shows at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so then you can just go and watch that afterwards. So, it can be made to work. They can share the weekend for those of us who are truly dedicated, and I suspect most of us are. All right, so anyway, but I'd be curious to see if that would actually cause a problem. But the second story of the day was some good news for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, and that's that Fandango has released some sort of poll as to what people are looking forward to in 2016. Now, I don't understand this poll. I wish that the poll had said what the people's choices were. Was this a multiple choice, or you could write in anything you wanted, right? Because it seems a little bit skewed to me, particularly when they start getting into talent, like actor and actress and rising male star and female star, most anticipated comic book character debuting in a major role. I mean, it seems really, really specific. Now, I'm going to put a link to this in the video description if you'd like to look at it yourself. We're going to talk about it a little bit, but I hear some interesting things that I took away from this, and I actually like it because it validates a lot of what I've been saying, and I think that's why a lot of people like this poll. But I'm sure some of you will be like, it's horrible. So obviously, well, not so much obviously, but I think, it becomes obvious once it happens. The most anticipated movie of the year is Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which I think is fascinating. Now, obviously, this poll took place during all the Star Wars mania that's currently going on, but that's very good. I was excited about Episode 8, and I am excited about Rogue One, a Star Wars story, but the fact that they've been able to take all the love for Episode 7 and make people excited about the next movie is a really good sign for Lucasfilm. So I think that's fantastic. I'm sure Gareth Edwards is quite pleased. And then Finding Dory was number 2. We talked about that potentially joining the $1 Billion Club yesterday on Movie Math. I think that's probably going to join the $1 Billion Club. Ellen DeGeneres is a powerhouse herself, so you put her back together with Pixar, I think it's going to be phenomenal. And Finding Nemo is already one of the most successful movies that Pixar has ever released. But then interestingly, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is number 3, above Captain America Civil War, which, by the way, isn't even next on the list. And Doctor Strange isn't even in the most anticipated movies list. So Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice currently is number 3 above Marvel. And I think that it's important to remember, while a lot of comic book fans might be like, oh, you showed Doomsday too early, blah, 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 I think that mainstream moviegoers are just like, I like Batman, I like Superman, I want to see them fight each other on the big screen. I'm going to see Wonder Woman. I'm going to go. I think the brand recognition for DC is just so incredibly strong, stronger in many ways than Marvel. Marvel had to really build their characters up because they sold their bigger ones, the film rights. But DC is really working from a very comfy position. So that's why it'll be even more embarrassing if they mess it up. But then Jason Bourne was number 4 before Captain America Civil War. That's very exciting, although not too surprising considering how well The Martian did. So that'll be 2 for 2 for Matt Damon. Then Star Trek Beyond was number 6. Independence Day 2, number 7. X-Men Apocalypse, number 8. Zoolander 2, number 9, and The Jungle Book, number 10. Why do I emphasize Zoolander number 2? Well, you'll see that Deadpool is not on this list, and as I've predicted, I think Zoolander 2 will beat it at the box office opening weekend, because it's PG-13, and I think it's more anticipated. So a lot of people called me crazy, but yet, as you can see, I'm maybe not so crazy, or crazy like a fox. So I'm curious as to what you think of that. We'll go through the rest of the list just really quickly. Then they have most anticipated actress. Melissa McCarthy for Ghostbusters is number 1. Her movie isn't anywhere on the list, but I'm glad for her. She was so good in Spy, my second favorite movie of the year in 2015. Scarlett Johansson in Captain America Civil War. That was very interesting. She really is becoming a leader of that franchise, and it couldn't have happened to a more deserving person. Jennifer Lawrence for X-Men Apocalypse. See, again, this I think it's skewed towards comic book fans, but I don't think it's just totally from them, because Jennifer Lawrence, of course, has annoyed a lot of comic book fans with not being willing to don the blue in the movie, so they would not have put her so high on this list. Emily Blunt for The Girl on the Train. Interestingly, not for The Huntsman Winter's War. Charlize Theron completes the list at number 5 for that movie. But The Girl on the Train is supposed to be the new Gone Girl, so we'll see if it can actually live up to that hype. But Emily Blunt, what will it take to make Emily Blunt a star? Kevin Feige is waiting to find out. But, time is running out for her to prove that she's not box office poison. Then for most anticipated actor, Matt Damon, number 1 for the Untitled Bourne movie. That's going to just be a huge hit. Then interestingly, Will Smith for Suicide Squad, not Jared Leto. So I find that very confusing. Then Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool, Ben Affleck for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, and then George Clooney for Hail Caesar. That is a weird list. I don't think those actors are, none of those actors are the people, well, except for Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. With everybody else, I'm more excited for other people in that film. Ryan Reynolds, we'll see. I'd be really surprised if Ryan Reynolds could turn his career around so quickly before Deadpool opens. I can see after Deadpool opens, people being like, I was wrong about Ryan Reynolds, or he is still funny. Thank goodness. But I think without actual proof, I think that's a little bit too much faith in my opinion. Then for rising female stars, I think this is very interesting. You have Sophie Turner for X-Men Apocalypse. I think that's very interesting. Of course, that is Sansa Stark from Game of Thrones. Then Leslie Jones for Ghostbusters. Leslie Jones is a fascinating individual. There's actually a bio article on her in the New Yorker magazine right now, and it's really fascinating. She's actually almost 50, and she has worked so hard and not gone away and not given up on her career. So to see her have so much success late in the game, a little bit like Helen Mirren, is really, really impressive. And so I think she's a very inspirational story. Then Karen Fukuhara for Suicide Squad. I mean, Margot Robbie's eventually going to show up on this list, but it's just crazy that she's not for rising female star or most anticipated female star. Then Christina Wren for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. I believe she's like Carol Ferris. I think that's who that is. I don't know. I can't believe she's even on this. This is so ridiculous. And then Nadia Hilker for the Divergent series Allegiant. I'm like, who's voting? And then for rising male star, Tom Holland for Captain America Civil War. That's nuts. Then Riz Ahmed for Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Riz Ahmed, I think, has the potential to be a very big star. I see his star rising, quite quickly. He's, of course, from Nightcrawler. He was the intern. He is in Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I've covered him recently in talking about the cast for that movie. He's from, his parents are Pakistani immigrants that went to the UK. And I think that, he really represents a growing demographic that really needs, I think, to define itself outside of the way that it's being defined tragically in the news and by certain, very deranged, dangerous individuals. So Riz Ahmed, I know he just probably wants to be an actor, but there's a lot riding on him. Ty Sheridan for X-Men Apocalypse. I actually am starting to become a Ty Sheridan fan. Stephen James for Race. I think that's also very encouraging. And then Ed Speleers for Alice Through the Looking Glass. We'll see, but that's actually a pretty good list of rising talent. Then most anticipated comic book character debuting in a major role. I'm like, wow, you way to try and angle for a specific answer, right? So the number 1 actually is Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. That's fascinating to me because in the comics right now, Harley Quinn is more popular, yet here she is number 1 on the list. And I think this speaks to Gal Gadot's performance, which is already, I think, pretty darn compelling. At least in the Batman v Superman movie, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from her actual movie that's filming right now, although on January 19th when that special comes out, we'll see if that changes or at least my opinion of how that movie looks. Then Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool. The trailers do look sensational for that movie. Then next up, Harley Quinn for Margot Robbie. I'm very curious to see how that works. It could either be huge or it will be rejected. We'll see. It's very hard to debut a character that's supposed to be super sexy, and make them very likable. I mean, it worked wonderfully with Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman in Batman Returns, but that character was extremely well written and extremely well acted. And I've debated as to whether or not Margot Robbie is the new Michelle Pfeiffer or Sharon Stone, and I think that her success rate with this role is going to go a long way in deciding that question. Then Aquaman, Jason Momoa. I'm pretty excited about that. Can he act? I don't know. Then Doctor Strange finally gets on here by Benedict Cumberbatch. And then finally Black Panther, who's a little bit lower than I would like for that list, of course played by Chadwick Boseman. So, Marvel's not being particularly well represented on these lists, so either that's true or Marvel fans didn't know this poll was being taken. All right, so that's the second story of the day. Now, the third story of the day is about the Baywatch movie, which I think just took a major misstep. Yesterday, there was a lot of news made on social media about Kelly Rohrbach, a model, being cast in the Pamela Anderson role of C.J. Parker. And Dwayne Johnson did all these videos that he posted onto his social media, announcing the news and kind of doing these comedy sketches with Kelly Rohrbach. And all it really showed to me was that, well, two things. One, Dwayne Johnson is very involved with the making of this movie. He is producing it through his company. And then also he needs writers. I love Dwayne Johnson, but the jokes here were incredibly poor. And also he ended every sketch by swearing. He was like, you know what's always funny? An F-bomb. And I'm like, not if you overuse them, Dwayne. You got to be careful about that. I think you should employ a writer to help you with these social media sketches because they're not as easy as they apparently look to you. Then also I felt that from a producing standpoint, so those are the two takeaways from the videos. And if you want to go and check them out, I'll put a link below to the article that put them all together as well. But my biggest problem here from a business standpoint is that I think that this is really going to hurt the playability of this movie with a wide audience. I think that I can understand wanting to cast like a beach babe in the Pamela Anderson role, but there are, I think, actresses out there who would qualify in that capacity but would also appeal to female audiences. Now, Kelly Rohrbach has her fans. Bella Thorne congratulated her when she got the role, so she has female fans. But I think it's almost like casting Kate Upton. And Kate Upton was not bad in The Other Woman, but she was no Leslie Jones or Cameron Diaz. But Cameron Diaz also started out as a model, by the way, so who knows what Kelly Rohrbach is capable of. But I can tell you from these little online sketches, it didn't look particularly promising. Also, she doesn't really have the figure that Pamela Anderson had either, so I'm not quite sure what they're going for here. I mean, at least Kate Upton would have duplicated the role in that regard. But what I'm talking, and also Alexandria Daddario is also going to be in there, but she fulfills that requirement, of sex appeal. But I think that she was very good in San Andreas. I mean, she proved that she could have like a fully dimensional character and not just have a fully dimensional swimsuit. But I think that Kelly Rohrbach is a real misstep for the movie and might seriously limit the audience. And if you look at the 21 Jump Street movies, they actually were very clever in casting their female actresses. And the first one was Brie Larson, Ellie Kemper, and then in the second film they of course famously had Jillian Bell. And I was very pleased with Aubrey Plaza's role in the upcoming Dirty Grandpa, where she was playing like the sexy character, but she was incredibly funny because she's a gifted comedian. And I think they really should have gone that route here. I think there are a lot of actresses, especially with some padding, who could have fulfilled the C.J. Parker physical requirements, but maybe made the movie a little bit more something that women would be interested in. Heck, you could have even gone with Rebel Wilson and really gone for some really funny humor with that. But I just think that Dwayne Johnson got a little carried away. I think he's misunderstanding the Baywatch brand and especially also what it takes for a movie to succeed today. I hope he didn't kill this movie with this casting. We'll see. I'm very curious because look at how, they just cast that Blurred Lines actress in the Zac Efron movie. That thing just completely was DOA. So I'm curious, what do you think of Kelly Rohrbach in the movie? Does it make you more likely to see Baywatch, less likely? Maybe when the trailers come out, we'll all be pleasantly surprised. But I think that this could potentially be the moment that the Baywatch movie became maybe not such a big hit. All right, so as for the viewer question of the day, this is from Drawing Oz. And Drawing Oz says, viewer question. You have such great videos, Grace. Oh, thank you. And I really appreciate all the work you put into them. I've watched and enjoyed your videos for a few years now. Thank you. But I don't know anything about you. You never talk about yourself. And after a while, it's starting to bother me that you state your views on movies, but we don't know what your personal facts or experiences are to back them up. Could you tell us a bit about yourself? Have a nice day. Smiley face. Well, Drawing Oz, that is a very humbling request. Thank you. I'm glad to know that you're interested in, what I'm doing when I'm not making these videos. So I wanted to take this opportunity. It was the perfect opportunity, I felt, to announce that I'm starting an Instagram feed. I started it last night. I stayed up way too late because Instagram, I found out, is addictive. But I've already posted some personal photos and also my top 5 movie posters for 2016 so far. Not the movies so much, but just what I think are the best posters that have been released as of yet. So I hope you'll check it out. There's a link in the video description, but it's Grace Randolph BTT. Grace Randolph was taken Darn it, I wasn't fast enough. I mean, I wasn't fast at all. I'm very late to the Instagram game, but I'm happy to be there. And I hope you'll consider following me. And basically, I'm going to do half curating, memes and movie posters and other movie visuals. But then also, I'm going to do half like personal things and just like little bits of things from my life, my day, what I'm doing. It's going to probably take some time for me to get the hang of it, but I just kind of wanted you guys to know that I was starting that and what the purpose of it is. So if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see on my Instagram feed, I of course would love to hear them. And also I'd like to give a big shout out to everybody. Ever from Dallas, by the way, was very quick to welcome me to Instagram. Everybody who followed me already, thank you so much. And I got a lot of very nice comments and also some tips already. So thank you, everybody. You made me feel very welcome. All right, that's today's morning movie news. Thank you for tuning in. Please write down below what you think of today's top 3 stories. Check me out on Instagram. Let me know what you'd like to see covered tomorrow and any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.